Emma Rodriguez pushed through the revolving doors of Cedar Heights Medical Center, her worn canvas bag slung over her shoulder. At 24, she had finally gotten around to scheduling her annual checkup, something she had been putting off for nearly 2 years. Working full-time at the Riverside Public Library and taking evening classes in literature left little room for anything else, including doctor visits. The morning air was crisp, and Emma wrapped her cardigan tighter around herself as she approached the reception desk. Her dark hair was pulled into a simple ponytail, and she wore minimal makeup, just as she did every day. Emma had never been one for vanity or excess. She valued substance over style, books over boutiques, quiet evenings over loud parties. "Good morning. I have an appointment at 9. Emma Rodriguez," she said softly to the receptionist. A middle-aged woman with bright red glasses perched on her nose. The woman typed rapidly, her nails clicking against the keyboard. "Yes, here you are. 3rd floor, room 340. Take the elevator on your right." Emma nodded her thanks and made her way to the elevator, her sneakers squeaking slightly against the polished hospital floors. She hated hospitals. They always smelled too clean, too sterile, like they were trying to mask something underneath. But this was just routine blood work and a physical exam. Nothing to worry about. The 3rd floor was bustling with nurses and patients. Emma found room 340 and knocked gently before entering. A nurse greeted her with a professional smile, clipboard in hand. "Emma Rodriguez." "Yes, that's me." "Perfect. Let me just verify some information. Date of birth?" Emma rattled off her information while the nurse checked boxes and made notes. Everything seemed normal. "Standard procedure." The nurse handed her a hospital gown and pointed to a small changing area. "Go ahead and change into this. The doctor will be with you shortly." Emma did as instructed, folding her clothes neatly and placing them in the locker provided. She sat on the examination table, her legs dangling, feeling vulnerable in the thin gown. Minutes passed, then more minutes. She checked her phone. 20 minutes had gone by. Finally, the door opened, and a different nurse entered, along with the doctor Emma didn't recognize. They both wore strange expressions, something between concern and confusion. "Miss Rodriguez, I'm Dr. Patricia Mills. I need you to come with me to another room. There's been a situation." Emma's heart skipped. "A situation? What do you mean? Is something wrong with my test results? Please, just come with us. We'll explain everything." The walk down the hallway felt endless. Emma's mind raced through possibilities. Cancer, some terrible disease. Her mother had died of complications from diabetes when Emma was 16, leaving her and her father to navigate life together. Was she sick too? They entered a private office where 3 other hospital staff members waited, all looking uncomfortable. Emma's hands began to tremble. "Miss Rodriguez, please sit down," Dr. Mills said gently. "Just tell me what's happening, please." Dr. Mills exchanged glances with her colleagues before speaking. "There's been a terrible error at our facility. Due to a catastrophic mix-up in our system, you were taken to the wrong department this morning." Emma stared blankly. "I don't understand. Instead of going to the general examination room for your physical, you were sent to our fertility clinic wing. You were mistakenly given a procedure meant for another patient." The words hung in the air, making no sense. Emma shook her head. "What kind of procedure?" "Intrauterine insemination. Artificial insemination." The room tilted. Emma gripped the arms of her chair, her knuckles turning white. "That's not possible. I came here for blood work. Just blood work. I know this is incredibly difficult to process, but our records were crossed with another patient who has a very similar name, Emma Richards. She was scheduled for the insemination procedure. You were sent to her appointment, and she was sent to yours." Emma felt bile rise in her throat. "You're telling me you performed a medical procedure on me without my consent? Without even realizing I was the wrong person?" The silence was deafening. "This cannot be happening." Emma's voice cracked. Tears began streaming down her face. "I didn't agree to anything like that. I would never agree to that." Dr. Mills moved closer. "Miss Rodriguez, I cannot express how deeply sorry we are. This is an unforgivable breach of protocol. We are taking full responsibility. Responsibility? Emma laughed bitterly through her tears. How do you take responsibility for this? How do you fix this? Another staff member, a man in a suit, stepped forward. We've already begun legal proceedings internally. The hospital will cover all medical expenses and provide comprehensive support. We're prepared to discuss compensation. Compensation. Emma repeated the word like it was foreign. Do you understand what you've done to me? We're arranging for immediate counseling services, and I was a virgin. The words came out as a whisper, but they stopped everyone cold. The room fell into absolute silence. Dr. Mills's face crumpled with genuine anguish. Oh my God. Emma stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I was waiting. I was saving that choice for someone I loved. Someone I chose. And you took that from me without even asking. Without even checking if I was the right person, Miss Rodriguez. And now what? Am I pregnant? Did your mistake actually work? Dr. Mills nodded slowly, tears in her own eyes now. We performed an immediate test. Yes, the procedure was successful. You're pregnant. Emma's legs gave out. She collapsed back into the chair, her entire body shaking. This couldn't be real. It had to be a nightmare. She would wake up any second in her small apartment, late for work, rushing to catch the bus, but she didn't wake up. This was real? Who? Emma asked through her sobs. Whose baby is this? The biological father is Carter Blackwell. He's already been contacted and is on his way here. He had donated material for his own planned procedure through a surrogate. His sample was used in your procedure by mistake, Carter Blackwell. Emma had heard that name before. Everyone had. He was the founder of Titanium Technologies, one of the youngest billionaires in the country. His face had been on magazine covers, tech blogs, business sections. He didn't know about this either, Dr. Mills added quickly. He's also a victim of our mistake. Emma laughed again, that same bitter sound. A victim? He's a billionaire. I'm a librarian who can barely afford my studio apartment. How is this the same? Before anyone could answer, there was a sharp knock on the door. A tall man entered without waiting for permission. He wore an expensive charcoal suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, his jaw clenched tight. Carter Blackwell looked exactly like his photos, except angrier. His eyes swept the room before landing on Emma. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Two complete strangers bound together in the most intimate way possible. Someone better start explaining, Carter said. His voice low and dangerous, how my genetic material ended up inside a woman I've never met. Carter Blackwell stood in the doorway like a storm about to break. His presence filled the entire room, commanding and intense. Emma couldn't stop staring at him. This stranger, who was now permanently tied to her in the most unthinkable way. Dr. Mills gestured toward an empty chair. Mr. Blackwell, please sit down so we can explain. I'll stand. His voice was clipped. Controlled fury barely contained beneath the surface. The hospital administrator. The man in the suit stepped forward nervously. Mr. Blackwell, Miss Rodriguez, what happened here today is unprecedented and inexcusable. Due to a systems error and human oversight, patient files were switched. Miss Rodriguez came in for a routine physical examination and was mistakenly sent to the fertility clinic where your scheduled procedure was taking place. Carter's eyes narrowed. My scheduled procedure was supposed to be with a verified surrogate. Someone I had spent months vetting through an agency. Someone who signed contracts and underwent extensive screening. We understand that, sir. The surrogate, Miss Richards, was sent to the general examination area by mistake. Miss Rodriguez was brought to the fertility clinic in her place. The names were similar enough that no one caught the error until after the procedures were completed. Emma watched Carter's face darken further. She felt small in her hospital gown, vulnerable and exposed, while he stood there in his designer suit, looking like he owned the world, which in many ways he did. This is unbelievable, Carter said, running a hand through his hair. I paid for discretion. I paid for professionalism. And you're telling me you impregnated a random woman with my child? I'm not random, Emma said quietly, finding her voice. I have a name. I'm a person whose life you people destroyed just as much as his. Carter turned to look at her fully for the first time. His expression softened slightly, perhaps noticing her tear-stained face and trembling hands. "I didn't mean it like that, didn't you?" Emma stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. "You walk in here talking about contracts and vetting and discretion like this. Is just a business deal gone wrong? But this is my body, my life. And I didn't sign up for any of this. Neither did I. You chose to come here. You chose to have a child this way. I came here for blood work." The truth of her words hung between them. Carter's jaw worked, and for a moment Emma saw something flicker in his eyes. Not quite sympathy, but recognition. An acknowledgement that she was right. Dr. Mills intervened. "Both of you are victims here. We take full responsibility for this catastrophic error. We're prepared to offer comprehensive medical care, psychological counseling, and substantial financial compensation. We'll also cooperate fully with any legal action either of you choose to pursue." "Legal action?" Emma shook her head. "What good does that do me right now? I'm pregnant. That doesn't change no matter how many lawyers get involved." Carter pulled out his phone, already typing. "I'm calling my attorney. This hospital needs to be held accountable." "Of course you are," Emma muttered. "Because money and lawyers fix everything, right?" He looked up sharply. "What would you suggest instead? That we just accept this and move on?" "I don't know." Emma's voice rose, cracking with emotion. "I don't know what to do. I'm 24 years old. I make barely enough to pay rent. I live alone. I've never even had a boyfriend. And now I'm pregnant with a stranger's baby because someone couldn't read a chart correctly." The room fell silent again. Emma realized what she had revealed and felt her cheeks burn. Carter was staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. "You've never had a boyfriend?" he asked, his voice softer now. Emma looked away. "Is that really relevant? You said earlier you were waiting for someone you loved."
"I did wait."
"And look where that got me." She wiped her eyes angrily. "I wanted my first time to mean something. To be with someone who cared about me. Someone I chose. And instead I get this?" Carter was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his tone had changed completely. "I'm sorry. Truly, this shouldn't have happened to you." Emma met his eyes and saw genuine regret there. Not pity, but actual remorse. It didn't fix anything, but it was something. The administrator cleared his throat. "We need to discuss next steps. Miss Rodriguez, you'll need prenatal care immediately. We can arrange for the best doctors in the city." "I don't want your doctors," Emma said firmly. "I want doctors I can trust." "That's fair," Carter interjected. "I'll arrange for private care. The best in the state. No connection to this hospital." Emma frowned. "I don't need your charity. It's not charity. It's my child, too. I'm not going to let inadequate care put either of you at risk. You don't even know me." "No, I don't. But that doesn't change the facts." Carter pocketed his phone and looked directly at her. "Can we talk? Privately?" "Not here," Emma hesitated. Every instinct told her to run, to get as far away from this nightmare as possible. But he was right. They needed to talk. This wasn't going away. Double quotes fine, but somewhere public. "There's a coffee shop 2 blocks from here. The Riverside Caf?" Emma nodded slowly. "Give me 20 minutes to get dressed and meet you there." Carter agreed and left the room. The medical staff began discussing logistics, but Emma barely heard them. She changed back into her clothes mechanically, her mind spinning. 30 minutes ago, her biggest worry was whether she would finish her essay on Emily Dickinson by Friday. Now she was pregnant with a billionaire's baby, and her entire future had been rewritten without her permission. The Riverside Caf was quiet when Emma arrived. Carter sat in a corner booth, 2 cups of coffee already on the table. He stood when she approached, a gesture that surprised her. "I got you, decaf," he said. I wasn't sure if regular coffee was okay for the pregnancy. It was such a small, thoughtful detail that Emma felt her defenses crack slightly. "Thank you." They sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Emma wrapped her hands around the warm cup, needing something to hold on to. "I don't know how to do this," Carter finally said. "I don't know what to say or how to make this better. Can't make it better. It is what it is. That's not good enough for me." He leaned forward. "Look, I know we're strangers. I know this situation is beyond comprehension, but there's a child now, my child. And whether we like it or not, we're connected." Emma studied him carefully. Up close, he looked tired. There were shadows under his eyes, and his expensive suit couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders. He was older than her by over a decade, successful beyond measure, and yet he seemed almost as lost as she felt. "What were you planning?" she asked. "With the surrogate?" Carter sat back. "I was going to raise the child on my own. I have the resources. I could hire help. I thought it was the logical solution." Logical solution to what? To wanting a family without the complications of a relationship? He paused. "I've been burned before. Multiple times. Women who were interested in my money, not me. I got tired of trying to figure out who was genuine, so I decided to skip that part entirely." Emma absorbed this. "That sounds lonely." "It is. But it seemed safer. And now everything's different." Carter met her eyes. "I won't pretend I'm happy about how this happened, but I'm not going to abandon my child. Or you. I don't need you to take care of me. Be not. But I want to be involved. I want to know my child. And that means getting to know you." Emma felt tears threatening again. This is too much. "I can't process this." "Then don't. Not all at once." Carter reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. "Can we just take it one day at a time? Start with the basics. I'd like to come to your doctor appointments, if you'll let me. Because it's my child too, and because you shouldn't have to go through this alone." Emma looked at his hand so close to hers. Despite everything, despite the anger and fear and confusion, she didn't pull away. "One day at a time. One day at a time," he repeated. Over the next 3 weeks, they fell into an unexpected rhythm. Carter called every morning to check on her. He sent meal deliveries to her apartment. Healthy food that Emma grudgingly admitted was better than the instant noodles she usually ate. He arranged for a top obstetrician, Dr. Helen Warren, who came highly recommended and had no affiliation with. Cedar Heights Medical Center, the first ultrasound was scheduled for a Friday afternoon. Emma took the bus to the medical building, her stomach churning with nerves. Carter was already in the waiting room when she arrived, standing immediately when he saw her. "Hey, how are you feeling?" "Nervous." "Me too." Dr. Warren was a kind woman in her 50s, with gentle hands and a warm smile. She explained everything as she went, making sure Emma understood each step. When she applied the gel to Emma's still flat stomach and pressed the transducer against her skin, the room filled with a rapid, rhythmic sound. "That's the heartbeat," Dr. Warren said softly. Emma stared at the screen, at the tiny blob that didn't look like much of anything yet. But that sound, that impossibly fast beating, was real. It was life. She looked over at Carter and saw his eyes fixed on the monitor, his expression unreadable. Then she saw his jaw tremble slightly, and she realized he was holding back tears. "That's our baby," he whispered. Emma felt something shift inside her chest. Not love, not yet, but recognition. This was real. This tiny heartbeat was a person who would exist because of a mistake. Yes. But who deserved love nonetheless. And looking at Carter's face, she realized he felt it too. When they left the doctor's office, Carter walked her to the bus stop. "Emma, I've been thinking. Your apartment, is it safe? Is it in a good neighborhood?" She bristled slightly. "It's fine. It's what I can afford. I'm not judging. I just want to make sure you're safe. Both of you." Emma softened. "It's not the best area, but I've lived there for 2 years. I know my neighbors." Carter nodded slowly. "Would you consider moving? I have a property downtown, a secure building with a doorman. I could set you up in a unit there. No strings attached. You'd have your own space, but you'd be safer." "Carter, I can't afford that. You wouldn't pay rent." "Consider it part of my responsibility to this child." Emma wanted to refuse on principle, but the truth was, her neighborhood had gotten worse lately. There had been 2 break-ins in her building last month, and the thought of raising a baby there made her anxious. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Take all the time you need." As Emma rode the bus home, she thought about Carter's offer. She thought about his face when he heard the heartbeat. She thought about how he called every day, how he remembered she liked tea instead of coffee, how he never once made her feel like a burden, despite this entire situation being thrust upon him too. Maybe, she thought, this didn't have to be a disaster. Maybe they could find a way through this together. She pulled out her phone and sent him a text. "Okay, I'll move to the downtown apartment. Thank you." His response came immediately. "Thank you for trusting me." Emma stared at those words for a long time. Trust. Such a fragile thing, especially given how they had met. But maybe, just maybe, it was a place to start. Emma stood in the doorway of the downtown apartment, hardly believing what she was seeing. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, flooding the space with natural light. The kitchen had granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. The bedroom was twice the size of her entire previous apartment. "This is too much," she breathed. Carter stood behind her, hands in his pockets. "It's just sitting empty." "Might as well be used. Just sitting empty." "Carter, this place must cost thousands a month. I own the building. Money isn't the issue here. Your safety is?" Emma turned to face him. Over the past month, she had gotten better at reading his expressions. Right now, beneath the casual tone, she could see genuine concern. It made her chest tighten in a way she didn't want to examine too closely. "Thank you, really. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to repay me. We're in this together, remember?" Together, that word kept coming up. And increasingly, it felt less like an obligation and more like a promise. Emma moved in the following weekend. Carter insisted on hiring movers, which was good because she had more books than furniture. He showed up with boxes of organizers and shelving units, helping her unpack her small library. "You really love books," he observed, holding up a worn copy of Jane Eyre. "They're my escape, my comfort." Emma smiled. "I know that probably sounds silly to someone like you. Someone like me. Someone whose life is already exciting. You run a tech empire. You travel the world. What do you need books for?" Carter set the book down carefully. "You'd be surprised how empty that life can be. All the success in the world doesn't mean much when you have no one to share it with." Their eyes met, and Emma felt that now familiar flutter in her stomach. She looked away quickly, focusing on unpacking another box. "Tell me about your company," she said, changing the subject. "I know the basics from articles, but what do you actually do?" Carter's face lit up as he explained his work in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Emma found herself genuinely fascinated, asking questions and engaging with his enthusiasm. He was brilliant, she realized, not just successful, but truly passionate about his work. "What about you?" he asked. "Why did you become a librarian?" "I love helping people discover stories. There's something magical about matching someone with the perfect book. Seeing their face light up when they find exactly what they need." She paused. "Plus, my mom used to take me to the library every week when I was little. After she died, the library became my safe place." Carter's expression softened. "How old were you when you lost her?" 16. Diabetes complications. It happened fast. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. "My dad did his best, but he worked 2 jobs. The library raised me as much as he did." "I'm sorry. That must have been incredibly hard." "It was. But it taught me to be independent, to rely on myself." She looked around the beautiful apartment, which is why all of this feels so strange. "I'm not used to accepting help. Maybe it's time to learn," Carter said gently. "There's no shame in letting people care about you." Emma's heart skipped. The way he looked at her when he said that made her wonder if he meant more than just general support, but she pushed the thought away. This was complicated enough without adding feelings into the mix, as weeks turned into months. Their relationship deepened in unexpected ways. Carter took her to prenatal classes, sitting beside her as they learned about breathing techniques and labor stages. He was the only father figure there, and Emma noticed how the other women looked at him with curiosity and sometimes envy. "They think we're together," Emma whispered during a break. "Does that bother you?" "I don't know." "Does it bother you?" Carter was quiet for a moment. "No, it doesn't." Emma's pulse quickened, but before she could respond, the instructor called them back for the next session. One evening, Carter invited her to his penthouse for dinner. His place was even more impressive than hers, all modern lines and expensive art. But it felt cold somehow, like a showroom rather than a home. "You're right," Carter said, noticing her looking around. "It's not exactly warm and inviting, just needs some personality. Some life. Maybe you could help with that. Once the baby comes, I'd like them to feel comfortable here too." The assumption that the baby would spend time at both places felt natural now. They had fallen into co-parenting before the child was even born, making decisions together about everything from cribs to pediatricians over dinner. A delicious meal Carter had cooked himself. They talked about their pasts more openly than before. "I was engaged once," Carter admitted. 5 years ago. 3 weeks before the wedding, I found out she had been cheating with my business partner. They had planned the whole thing together. She wanted access to my money, and he wanted my connections. Emma's heart ached for him. "That's horrible. Taught me not to trust easily. I built walls after that. Big ones. And now..." Carter met her eyes across the table. "Now I'm realizing that walls keep out pain, but they also keep out everything good." The air between them felt charged. Emma wanted to reach across the table to take his hand, but fear held her back. What if she was misreading this? What if his kindness was just responsibility? As if reading her mind, Carter stood and walked around the table. He held out his hand to her. "Dance with me. There's no music." He pulled out his phone, and soft jazz filled the room. "Now there is." Emma let him pull her to her feet. Her growing belly bumped between them as he placed one hand on her waist and took her hand with the other. They swayed slowly, and Emma felt safe for the first time in months. Really, truly safe. "I need to tell you something," Carter said softly. "And you don't have to respond. You don't have to feel the same way, but I need to say it." Emma's breath caught. "Okay, I'm falling for you. Maybe I already have fallen. I know the timing is terrible. I know this started as a nightmare. But somewhere along the way, you became the best part of my day. Your laugh, your intelligence, your strength. Everything about you." Emma felt tears spring to her eyes. "Carter, mean it. And I know you deserved better than this. You deserved romance and choice and all the things that were stolen from you. So I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know." Emma pulled back slightly to look up at him. His eyes were sincere, vulnerable in a way she had never seen before. And she realized that her own walls had been crumbling too. "I'm falling for you too," she whispered. "I've been so scared to admit it. Scared that it was just gratitude or circumstance. But it's not. It's you. Who you are. How you make me feel." Carter's hand came up to cup her face. "Can I kiss you?" Emma nodded, her heart racing. When his lips met hers, it was gentle and reverent, full of all the words they hadn't said. Emma felt tears roll down her cheeks, but they were happy tears this time. Healing tears. When they finally pulled apart, both were smiling. "I want to do this right," Carter said. "I want to take you on dates, real ones. I want to court you properly." Emma laughed through her tears. "Court me? What century are you from? You know what I mean? I want you to feel special. Chosen. Because you are." Over the next months, Carter kept his promise. He took her to bookstores and let her pick out armfuls of novels. They had picnics in the park where Emma could rest when her back ached. He rubbed her swollen feet while they watched old movies. He painted the nursery with her, both of them covered in soft yellow paint by the end. Emma introduced him to her father, a gruff construction worker who was initially suspicious of the wealthy businessman. But Carter won him over by asking about his work, showing genuine interest, and most importantly, by the way he looked at Emma. "That man loves you," her father said after Carter left. "I can see it." "I love him too, Dad." "Good. You deserve to be happy, sweetheart. Your mother would be glad." The hospital that had caused everything offered a massive settlement to both of them. Emma and Carter discussed it at length and decided to donate the entire amount to a foundation supporting women's health advocacy and medical oversight reform. They wanted something good to come from the nightmare. When Emma went into labor on a rainy Tuesday evening, Carter was by her side immediately. He held her hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement when she wanted to give up, and cried when their daughter finally entered the world. "She's perfect," Emma breathed, holding the tiny bundle. "It's just like her mother," Carter said. Kissing Emma's forehead, they named her Hope, Hope Rodriguez Blackwell, a symbol of everything beautiful that had somehow emerged from tragedy. 3 months later, Carter proposed properly. Not because of the baby, but because he couldn't imagine his life without Emma in it. He got down on one knee in the library where she worked, surrounded by the books she loved, and asked her to marry him. Emma said yes without hesitation. Their wedding was small and intimate, just family and close friends. Emma wore a simple white dress and carried wild flowers. Carter couldn't stop staring at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. As they exchanged vows, Emma thought about how far they had come. From strangers thrown together by catastrophe to partners, co-parents, and now husband and wife. Life had given them the worst possible beginning, but they had chosen to write their own ending. 2 years later, Emma sat in the nursery of their home, a place that finally felt warm and full of life. Hope was playing with blocks on the floor, her dark curls bouncing as she babbled happily. Emma's hand rested on her growing belly, where their second child grew. This pregnancy was planned, wanted. Celebrated Carter came in from work and immediately scooped Hope into his arms, making her squeal with delight. Then he kissed Emma, his hand joining hers on her stomach.
"How are my girls?"
He asked. "Perfect. We're all perfect." And it was true. Against all odds, despite the worst beginning imaginable, they had built something real and lasting. They had chosen love when they could have chosen bitterness. They had chosen each other when they could have remained strangers. Emma had learned that sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the most beautiful miracles. That trust can be rebuilt. That love can grow even in the darkest soil, and as she sat there surrounded by her family, the family she never planned but couldn't imagine living without, Emma finally understood that life's best gifts often come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. The mistake that shattered her world had ultimately made it whole.